Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. My sincere gratitude to all of you and especially to Vedanath Prabhu and Gaur Kumar Room for giving an opportunity today to serve all of you by sharing Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, which have touched my heart very deeply. I just share some of them. I first of all want to thank Yajna Purush Prabhu who brought this place after I think few years it wasn't with us. So it's an amazing service he has done. And to all of you who are maintaining this place, my deep gratitude. Srila Prabhupada's, I don't want to be sounding cliched, but it's a fact. It's Srila Prabhupada's love which is uniting all of us. And for me, my go-to when I'm in stress is Srila Prabhupada's voice. And I just play his tape. And then when I hear him say, so, I just feel, I can't explain it in words. It just, so, you rascal, yes. It's just soothing, loving grandfather. Like today morning I was hearing his class, November 1975, Kenya. Srila Prabhupada is amazing, he would create his own words, his own vocabulary. Like today he's saying, so, people are foolishly and rascally trying to declare that they are God. I was like, I know rascal, but what is rascally? He wanted it to rhyme with foolishly. So he would say many things, like in one class I was hearing last week, Srila Prabhupada says, so, we take knowledge from big ocean, Krishna, big fish, not from the small fish. Small fish, they just have a little bit of water and they go phat phat phat. So we don't want phat 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 knowledge, we want Krishna's knowledge. And Prabhupada repeats that so many times in the class. So that candid, uncanny ability to just be himself. You see, Prabhupada never carried notes for giving classes. We should carry notes, we should prepare. It's a service. I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying, because Srila Prabhupada, inside, outside, he was so congruent. He thought, we generally I need a lot of notes and a lot of things. Because I think one thing, I feel a second thing, I speak the third thing, I do the fourth thing. Congruency is lacking for many of us many times. But Srila Prabhupada was thinking, speaking, feeling, doing Krishna. He was filled with Krishna. He was Krishnamaya. And last year when I came here, I was overwhelmed. I've been 25 years dreaming of how it must have been here and reading constantly the Lilamrita, especially this section. So right now I'm remembering a verse from the Bhagavatam. You can please repeat after me because this echoes, this reveals what Srila Prabhupada has done. Bhavad Vida Bhagavatis Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirti Kurvanti Tirthani Swantastena Gadabrita. A pure devotee of Krishna, Bhavad Vida Bhagavatis, Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho. He is holy place personified. Holy place. It's a place. A person is not a place. But a person has been defined as holy place in the Bhagavatam. What is the logic? Because the third line says, Tirti Kurvanti Tirthani. Because he has the ability to convert an ordinary place into a holy place. That is why he is holy place personified. And how does he have the ability to convert an ordinary place into a holy place? Swantastena Gadabrita. Because he is carrying Krishna in his heart. Wherever he goes, he makes that place into a holy place. Trust me, when I came here last year, I was more Krishna conscious than when I was, going to some holy places in India also. Because just entering these premises is where that energy is still there. For me, it was like, then I could understand the meaning of this verse, the import of this verse. Prabhupada made New York into a holy place. When I went back, devotees were asking, you went to Tompkins Square Park? Can you imagine? Tompkins Square Park is a holy place for so many devotees in ISKCON. I mean, if you ask any pious Hindu Indian who doesn't know about ISKCON, he would be like, what? This is bizarre. How can you have Tompkins Square Park as a holy place? I remember doing the parikrama of that, pradakshina of that tree. And I took some of the leaves and I still have kept them with me. So this is the power of a pure devotee. Has made New York into a holy place of pilgrimage. And what really attracted me to Srila Prabhupada, to be very honest with all of you, was his amazing ability to balance humanity and spirituality. See, generally I've seen, because before coming, I was in spiritual shopping before coming to ISKCON, and most spiritual teachers would present themselves as spiritually very advanced. And Srila Prabhupada is definitely spiritually very advanced. But Srila Prabhupada would also be very human. And sometimes there are some people who are very human. They talk about human love, relationships and love, but they don't take their followers to a level beyond material world. They keep their consciousness stuck on material emotions. Srila Prabhupada could help us aim for the stars, and he also helped us keep our feet firmly on the ground. So I'll just share a few pastimes which helps us understand these two aspects of Prabhupada. First is the spirituality. The highest goal, right here in this venue, Srila Prabhupada, he shook his audience by his presentation of Krishna consciousness. He challenged his audience to think deeper. Sitting here in 1966, July, in his class, he takes a volatile example from the scriptures. He starts saying, Krishna tells Arjuna to fight. Arjuna doesn't want to fight. But one should fight the war if it is dharma. If Krishna orders, one should fight. Now, this was a potentially explosive example Srila Prabhupada had chosen, because that period in history was the time of Vietnam War. And the young boys who were coming, some of them were hippies, they were conscious protesters of the America's participation in Vietnam War. And they were against war. And the audience was getting disturbed by this example. You can see, he could have chosen any other example to surrender to God, but he's giving the example of Krishna telling Arjuna. So one person in the audience stood up and said, so do you think we should fight the Vietnam War? So Srila Prabhupada said, Vietnam War is a temporary phenomenon. I am asking you to go deeper and understand that it's the importance of surrendering to God. So then somebody said, if you're not addressing the Vietnam War, what is your relevance? You have to address this war. Srila Prabhupada said, right now you are obsessed with this war because this is an emergency in your mind. But time will make this issue disappear. Something else will come up. So Srila Prabhupada was challenging his audience to go deeper and not be stuck in their petty situations. Because Srila Prabhupada learnt it also from his spiritual master in 1922 when he was in Kolkata. His friend insisted that he come and meet this saintly person, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Srila Prabhupada was a protester against the British rule in India. And then reluctantly he walks into the terrace of Ulta Danga Road. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur looks at him and tells him, first thing, you are an educated young man, you should preach the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. And immediately Srila Prabhupada, the young college student Abhay Charan De, he says, who will listen to your message of Lord Chaitanya when India is still a dependent country? We need independence first. And Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is an emergency, it can't wait for independence. Somebody else will come to power, but the problems will remain. Krishna consciousness should go on. So Srila Prabhupada was shaken by that. His fundamentals were shaken in that. He admits that he was defeated by his guru. And Srila Prabhupada learned that lesson, and Srila Prabhupada always presented the highest philosophy in every situation. 1971, India-Pakistan is in a war. And in India, they are like, General Yahya Khan of Pakistan is bombing Delhi. And the reporter is telling Srila Prabhupada, somebody go and stop Yahya Khan. Yahya Khan is out to kill us. Srila Prabhupada challenges that reporter. If Yahya Khan doesn't get you, you won't die. The reporter is not able to think. She's stuck in that war. Prabhupada says, think deeper. This is an ugly reality. Material life is an ugly reality. Transcend this. Srila Prabhupada said the same thing in 1944 during the Second World War. Srila Prabhupada could see the bigger picture. When George Bernard Shaw said Gandhi's 75th birthday was being celebrated in India, Mahatma Gandhi's 75th birthday, and George Bernard Shaw said that I wish this was Gandhi's 35th birthday because Gandhi is so good. And Srila Prabhupada said, you may wish it is his 35th birthday, but cruel time doesn't wait for anyone. So Srila Prabhupada challenged us to go deeper and understand the realities of life. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada was very sensitive, very human. And that's what has touched my heart very deeply. Right here, in this place, when these young boys, Yaduna Prabhu was reading Saswarup Maharaj's letter. Saswarup Maharaj was a young boy, Steve Guarino. He was the oldest of the group of boys who were coming here. Bruce, Wally, Chuck, Keith, all of them. And Steve was the oldest. And in the class, Srila Prabhupada is sitting here and he's saying, so this New York, horrible place. It smells like dog stool. There is nothing good here. This time of the year, in India, we get so many mangoes. Here, you don't get any mango. And then, of course, Srila Prabhupada went on to speak other things. And Steve was a young boy, although he was the oldest in the group. So the other boys looked at him as he's like 26. Others were all 19, 20. So Steve thought, Swamiji likes mango, because he always thought, how can I please Swamiji? He thought, Swamiji loves mango. Maybe if I get a mango for him, he'll be happy. So Steve starts going into all the shops, Indian shops, everywhere, he doesn't get a mango. And after walking for many hours, finally in one shop he gets a mango. And he gets so excited, he buys and he gets those mangoes here. And next day Prabhupada is giving class. After the class, the devotees come together and Steve offers a mango to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada's eyes become big. In Indians, I don't know about you, but Indians love mangoes. And Srila Prabhupada, when he saw that mango, his eyes became big. Mango! And then Prabhupada took his hand and put it on Steve's head and said, very good boy. And when he said that, everybody laughed because it was a little funny for them, because they thought Prabhupada saying very good boy to a man who others thought was a senior most man. So it was a little incongruent, so everybody laughed. And then suddenly Srila Prabhupada's expression changed. He said, why are you laughing? This is love. And when Prabhupada said that, everybody became, this is love. Now, Saswarup Maharaj writes that this incident was just one of incidents. So many things were happening every day. Time passed. 1976, devotees were celebrating the 10th anniversary of establishing ISKCON. And a huge cake was made. And Steve had become His Holiness Satswarup Das Goswami Maharaj, the big danda, sannyasi. Bruce had become Brahmananda Swami. Greg was Gargamuni Swami. Chuck was Achyutananda Swami. Keith was Kirtananand Swami. And there are all big sannyasis with their dandas, and the whole planet was governed by them. They all had their zones, and thousands of devotees, and Srila Prabhupada was traveling all over the world, and hundreds of temples, so many books. He was a global acharya coming in all the newspapers, magazines. He was a world-renowned figure. And when that 10th anniversary cake was being cut, Srila Prabhupada is looking at all the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada says, our Saswarup Maharaj used to get me a mango. And devotees were, wow. Last 10 years, that one incident, Saswarup Maharaj writes, just once that incident happened. But Srila Prabhupada recognized that was love. And he could recall that 10 years later. And this is not one-off incident. I was blessed to meet one Mataji, Lilavati Mataji, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. And she said, Prabhupada gave so many lectures, I hear his lectures even today. But what has touched my heart most deeply is when I was in Switzerland, in Geneva temple. Srila Prabhupada came there, and when devotees are serving him, he said, I don't see Lilavati, where is she? Devotee said, Prabhupada, she admitted in the hospital, and they're all busy in our services. We ensured that she gets prasadam. 3 times a day. Srila Prabhupada said, but nobody is staying with her? No, Prabhupada, they are all busy, temple, so much services. Prabhupada said, drop all the services, close down the temple, but all of you should go there right now, be with her. So when devotees, all of them went there and she was overwhelmed to see. And then they said, Prabhupada told us to come and visit you. So in these last 60 years, she has heard so many lectures of Prabhupada, but this one act of Prabhupada is what has left a deep impression in her heart. Another Mataji I met, Sarvamai, my Mataji, Sarveshwari Mataji. Prabhupada is that. And she says, she also hears Prabhupada's classes every day, because I was sharing with her how, I whatever I was hearing, I was sharing, and she was sharing something, and then she said, I hear all these classes, but what has deeply touched my heart is when Srila Prabhupada was taking rest at night after the class. I went to his room to keep a cup of milk, hot milk he takes at night. So I kept that milk and I was leaving, and he came and he saw me. And Prabhupada's servant was there cleaning the room. And Prabhupada looked at me and said, Sarveshwari, you are pregnant, is it? Because her stomach had come out like this. So he guessed. It's obvious. So Prabhupada said, you are pregnant. She said, yes, Prabhupada. Oh, so are you taking care of yourself? She said, yes, Prabhupada. What are you doing? What are you eating? So Srila Prabhupada started inquiring about her well-being, so many details. And then Srila Prabhupada said, you should take milk every night. Do you take milk? She said, Prabhupada, sometimes. No, you should take this milk now. And that milk had been kept for Srila Prabhupada. And she said, no, Prabhupada, that is for you. I will take later. No, take it now. I want to see if you take the milk or not. So she sat there and she took that milk, and Prabhupada looked at her. And then he called the servant. He said, ensure that every night she gets milk. And she was like overwhelmed recalling this incident. So this is humanness, Along with, sometimes we say, we have to go back home, back to Godhead, but then if we fail to have these basic human interactions of love and empathy and care, how will we, if we can't experience Krishna here in our relationships, how will we experience Krishna? Krishna will become very abstract. Now, when I heard these pastimes, trust me, I'm being very honest, in India we have this feeling that, especially brahmacharis, that we should only discuss philosophy, hardcore, all this mushy stuff, sentimental stuff. And maybe women, they like these pastimes. We had this bias, prejudice. But one day, of all people, His Holiness Jai Advaita Swami Maharaj, who is a hardcore philosopher, if you see his classes, he's like, and he's very strong, he's cutting and ruthless in his, he can pierce, he can smash all your arguments to pieces. Like somebody in middle of the class in London Soho Street, somebody challenged him. When he spoke about Hanuman jumping, he said, oh, I don't believe this. How can a monkey jump like 100 miles? So Jadavata immediately snapped him. Well, just because you can't, you think nobody can? And he got offended. He said, how do you know I can't? So then Maharaj said, if you can, then why can't Hanuman? So like there is a debater, he can really debate well. So he came and he said something astounding, and he really confirmed. He said, ISKCON doesn't need, actually he said this long back in 1993. And recently I asked him, do you still subscribe to this opinion? You know what he had said 30 years ago? That ISKCON needs more than managers and sannyasis and gurus. What we right now need is grandmothers. Just think about it. And what he meant, he said, in a traditional Indian family, there are grandmothers who give a lot of affection and love to grandchildren. And they have all the time in the world. So we need in ISKCON grandmothers, devotees who play the grandmother role, who can hear you out, who can give you love, and who can give you affection. So recently I asked him, Maharaj, do you still subscribe to that? You said that many years ago. He said, of course we need grandmothers. And then I realized, wow, it's, why live in denial? Let's admit this is a human need, basic human need of love, affection, care, empathy. And if we can't give it amongst ourselves, then how will, see, there are two things. One is, we do certain things to experience Krishna, and we also need to experience Krishna in what we are doing. in our lives also we need to see Krishna. And we also need to do certain devotional activities to experience Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada could do both. Like Srila Prabhupada is walking and then he suddenly, it's Paris. Paris is so far away from Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada just stops in his morning walk and he says, inhales fresh air and he says, this is Vrindavan. And where is Vrindavan and where is Paris? But he could see Vrindavan in that situation there. Then once he was sitting in a park and a devotee brought a blanket for Prabhupada to sit on. As soon as Prabhupada sat, Prabhupada sat on the grass. So devotee brought a blanket to sit on. Prabhupada said, no, I'm sitting on Krishna's lap. And then fresh breeze blew and the devotee brought a chadar. Prabhupada said, no, I'm feeling Krishna's embrace right now. So to experience Krishna in this world is also important. To experience Krishna in our relationships, in our caring for each other, to see Krishna in the hearts of other living entities. Jiva Goswami writes this in the 11th canto that if you can't see Krishna in the heart of devotees, you can't see Krishna in the heart of other living entities. So we need to see Krishna. We need to care for each other. And Srila Prabhupada did that beautifully. In fact, here, when he was living here, he would cook this love feast. And he would also cook prasadam every day. And he would feed unlimited chapatis and sabzis. And these boys would come from work, they would eat and they would go away. Srila Prabhupada would clean up. And Srila Prabhupada would serve seconds, thirds. He would serve unlimited chapatis and sabzis and rice and dal. Only one boy, he stopped him, Stanley. Because that Stanley would eat 17 chapatis. After 17 chapatis, Prabhupada said, no more. He won't get any more. But rest everyone, Srila Prabhupada fed. And then once Wally was eating prasadam, and Srila Prabhupada, and Westerners generally are not used to eating chilies. In India, Indian spice means. So Srila Prabhupada, I think one chili, he got a chili on his tongue. And he couldn't handle it. It was too hot for him. And Srila Prabhupada saw him. Immediately Srila Prabhupada ran. He just jumped to him. He sat in front of him. This is in the Lilamrita. I was so amazed to read this. Prabhupada took his bowl, and then Srila Prabhupada would also have lunch with them, but Srila Prabhupada would have something extra, like he would have bananas also as a part of his lunch, and some fruits. Srila Prabhupada brought the bananas from his plate, which was next to his plate. He cut them, he crushed them in his fingers, he put it on a bowl which Wally had, and then he put some sugar, and he mixed it, and said, Prabhupada said, eat this immediately, this will neutralize the effect of the chilies. And he ate it, and then the chili effect was neutralized. Srila Prabhupada was very practical. He knew how to take care of devotees. Like when Jadurani Mataji was painting, and there's a book called I Am Not Displeased with Any Member. That's a book where Satsvarup Maharaj's letters and Prabhupada's reply. It's a long conversation, letters, and it's a thick book. You will see in that book Prabhupada writing about, okay, now you can take milk like this in the night, you can mix turmeric, you can do this. There are detailed explanations on how to take care of your health. Many times, we present Srila Prabhupada. I sometimes feel we glorify Srila Prabhupada as, Srila Prabhupada smashed all the rascals and demons. We present Prabhupada as if he was a fighter. And I sometimes think we glorify Prabhupada more than Prabhupada's character. It also reveals the nature of the person who is glorifying Prabhupada. He likes that kind of flavor of Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada had many aspects to him. Like I was hearing one conversation of Srila Prabhupada with the British Lord. I forget his name, Lord Curzon. Toynbee, Arnold Toynbee is a famous historian, British historian, 92 years old or something, and they are talking. And Srila Prabhupada, it's a 1 hour 40 minutes conversation. Such grace and such charm, my God. It's so different than what we hear Srila Prabhupada smashing the atheistic people. It is so beautiful. Like Srila Prabhupada says, so where were you born? He says, I was born in Kolkata. Srila Prabhupada says, where in Kolkata? So, I read all of this, police siren blowing, in the Lilamrita, all of this is there. Srila Prabhupada is giving class, and Srila Prabhupada insists that the door is kept open so that anybody can come in. And then Srila Prabhupada would look at the truck going, and Srila Prabhupada would say, so, you see this truck? It was existing before you saw it, and it will exist, and it exists after you've seen it also. Similarly, the soul always exists. It's not that just in this life the soul is there. Like that, Srila Prabhupada would give examples. And where was I? I was saying something else. Anna Toynbee. So Srila Prabhupada says, you were born in Kolkata. Where in Kolkata? And then Srila Prabhupada is talking about his childhood. And for a good 20-25 minutes they're talking about their childhood, which shop was good there and what they were eating and all of that. And then in one part of the conversation, that historian says, actually I don't know much about spiritual life. I'm British and like that. And Prabhupada says, no, this is very good mood. This is what our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said is Trinadapi Suni Chenam. He is calling this so-called meat eater or whatever, historian as somebody who is embodying the principles of humility given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada is a very charming host, very charming and very gracious in his dealings. So I'm remembering all of those qualities here and especially Srila Prabhupada's ability to care and be human. Like Srila Prabhupada spoke about this, about we are not the body, we are the soul. Very strong, and he wanted us to grow, rise, and not be stuck in our material consciousness. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada was very authentic about his own feelings. He never hid them. Like for example, Srila Prabhupada's health deteriorated in 1977. I have 5 minutes. Srila Prabhupada's health was 7:30. So it's nearing 7:30. Srila Prabhupada's health deteriorated and he was in Rishikesh in India. So devotees thought he may leave his body. So they rushed him to Vrindavan from Rishikesh. And already a phone call had gone and devotees in Vrindavan were like, oh, Srila Prabhupada is going to leave the world. He's going to leave all of us. So they all gathered in the temple and Srila Prabhupada comes in a very frail condition, very weak. This is 1977 May. He is 81 years old. And he's very weak. And all the devotees are sitting like this, and Srila Prabhupada is giving a talk. So, I may die. This is how he begins. So, death can come anytime. What is there to lament? Everything is there in the books. We don't die. We are not the body, we are the soul. And it's powerful. Srila Prabhupada gives very deep spiritual presentation. And as Srila Prabhupada is speaking all of this, devotees start crying because the imminent separation from Srila Prabhupada is what they are expecting. And then they're all crying, and after a short talk, Srila Prabhupada is taken to his room behind the temple. And as Srila Prabhupada enters the room, as soon as he enters, he falls into the arms of Tamal Krishna Goswami. And he says, Tamal, please encourage me. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj starts telling, oh, Srila Prabhupada, you've written so many books, you're giving Krishna to everyone. He appreciates Srila Prabhupada's services. And then Srila Prabhupada says, thank you. And then every day Tamal Krishna Maharaj ensures that some devotees come and appreciate Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, and then one of those days, devotees are doing kirtan on his bed, near his bed, and he's lying down. Srila Prabhupada says, where are the devotees? Prabhupada, they're here, they're chanting. Where are the devotees? I'm missing them. Srila Prabhupada did not hide his feelings. He didn't present himself as a stoic, expressionless, spiritual. Generally we think spiritual guru means somebody who is always smiling and who is always. Srila Prabhupada had emotions for Krishna and for devotees, he would express it. In the last 3 months, you read the Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Servant of Servant. There are so many references to his wife and children. He says, please keep pension for them. Please keep some money from the BBT he arranges for them. Now as a sannyasi, he should have nothing to do with his wife and children. But he was sensitive and caring for them. He wanted a stipend to be kept so that they are given every month some money. Isn't that caring for your family? I mean, we generally think, and Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book is dedicated to his father. We grew up, when we came to KC, we had a lot of wrong understanding. We hurt our parents so much. But we have learnt a lot from Srila Prabhupada, the way he was caring and the way in fact he told Bruce and Greg, when they became devotees and they went home, when they knocked on the door and the mother opened the door, they offered full dandavat. And the mother opens the door and she sees there's nobody. And then she sees both sons are lying on the ground. So Srila Prabhupada taught us these basic things. Like in June 1975, 76, he is very hungry. He has not eaten for many days. And Srila Prabhupada says, he rings the bell for his servant. The servant comes, get me orange juice, because Srila Prabhupada finally decides to eat something. The servant realizes there is no orange in the kitchen. So he goes down to the shop and it takes half an hour to get some oranges. Meanwhile, Prabhupada keeps ringing the bell. Prabhupada is angry because he's already not eaten for many days. He's hungry, he's tired. And then this servant comes up with a mango, with the orange juice after 40-45 minutes. Srila Prabhupada shouts at him, I have not eaten, I have not drunk anything. And you take 300 years to get me orange juice? Get out, take it away. I don't want it, take it away. I don't want this orange juice. The servant is intelligent, he doesn't take it away. He is smart. He quietly goes out. And after a few minutes, Srila Prabhupada walks up to the table. He takes that orange juice, slowly drinks it, keeps it back, keeps the empty cup there, and continues his work of writing, seva of writing. So after some time, the servant walks in to take that empty cup. Srila Prabhupada looks at him, says, come here. He comes. And Prabhupada says, see, I am an old man. I sometimes get cranky. So you please don't mind, okay? Don't feel bad that I scold you. So the servant started crying. He said, no, Prabhupada, I'm so grateful that you allowed me to serve you. So these are very, very beautiful pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada performed these pastimes to show us his human side. At the same time, he also performed the extraordinary pastimes. 1973, when Vrindavan temple was being under construction, devotees had created a big mess. They had sent out invitations and the temple was not even 20% ready. And Prabhupada cancelled the inauguration of the temple and he was personally supervising the construction. And it was rainy season, just started raining in June, July. No, it was hot, it was not raining. And Prabhupada got malaria. And its malaria can really weaken you. And Srila Prabhupada did not eat anything for 2 weeks. Once in 4 days, he would take 2 slices of an orange. And Srila Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj also left his body like this. So devotees started telling devotees that he is leaving his body, something like that. So devotees started all over the world, 24-hour kirtan for Prabhupada's health, praying for Prabhupada. Prabhupada had no appetite, he was not eating anything. And suddenly one day, devotees came and said, Prabhupada, the governor of Uttar Pradesh is coming to Vrindavan and we have called him to our site where we are constructing the temple. We'll have a red carpet welcome, an official reception for the governor, and we will receive him. Hopefully, he will be impressed and then he will release the cement and all the things we want for the construction. They wanted to network with him. Srila Prabhupada was extremely weak. He had no appetite. He was having 104 degree temperature, 104 degrees Celsius. I don't know how you calculate it, whatever it is. So 104 degree, which is very high fever. And when Srila Prabhupada came to me and said, I want to personally receive the governor. Devotee said, no, Prabhupada, you please take rest, we will manage. No, I want to come. So they had to help Srila Prabhupada put on dhoti. And tilak he couldn't put, like he was literally falling. And they brought him in a chair, they brought him in that stage. As soon as the governor's car stopped, and the governor got out of the car, immediately Srila Prabhupada, and he stood up as if he's fit and fine. And when the governor walked in, Srila Prabhupada greeted him, spoke to him as if nothing had happened, and all the devotees know what's wrong with Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada stood there, spoke to him, and then the governor spoke for 15 minutes on industrialization is the way forward, a typical nationalistic speech, and everybody, Prabhupada respectfully heard it, sitting next to him. And after that, Prabhupada stood up and spoke for half an hour on Krishna consciousness in that audience. For everyone, it's a normal program. The governor of Uttar Pradesh is here, it's a big event, but for the intimate devotees who were there, they knew this is extremely dangerous for Srila Prabhupada's health. But to get that land, to get the permissions, to get the cement, Srila Prabhupada was willing to take all that risk. And then the worst part of this, or the best part, it depends on how you see it, after all of this, The last event was a big dinner prasadam, a area where dinner was arranged, and the governor and Srila Prabhupada walk up to the dinner arena, that area, and they sit in the table, and to honor his guest, to everybody's shock, Srila Prabhupada, who had no appetite, he eats with the governor the whole dinner feast, and he's talking to him. And everybody is shocked. And after that dinner feast, Prabhupada talks to the Dr. Khan, he was the governor. He thanks him and he walks with him to the car and he opens the door. The governor sits in and the car leaves. As soon as the car leaves, Prabhupada collapses. He just pulled it up. He just did that whole thing to get that thing, that land for devotees, for Krishna service. So these kind of sacrifices Srila Prabhupada did innumerable times. In fact, when Krishna consciousness started here, this is the 7th place Prabhupada stayed in America when he came. First was Sally Agarwal, then Dr. Ramurthy Mishra's yoga studio. Then he had his own apartment, then it was burglarized, then he went to Bihari. Then he stayed with Carl and Eva got wild, and then he stayed for some time at Mukunda's place, and finally Mukunda got this place. The 7th place where Prabhupada stayed. And before coming here, kind of adventure Srila Prabhupada went through. Like one of the initial days he's giving a class, the recording is still there, I heard it many years ago. Old men and women are sitting in the class. And Srila Prabhupada in the middle of the class he says, actually I am not happy here. My heart is in Vrindavan. I am missing Vrindavan. I'm not happy. Srila Prabhupada says this. And one elderly lady, she says, yeah, I can see you're not happy. Srila Prabhupada says, I want to go back to Vrindavan. I'm just imagining what he must be going through, that separation from Vrindavan. And then he says, but I will not go back. My Guru Maharaj has ordered me to preach and give Krishna consciousness. So that's sacrifice. And you would say that you would go regularly to the harbor to see the ships. At Boston also somewhere you would go and you had met friends with that agent. And one last person I want to mention here is in the initial day there is one recording where Srila Prabhupada is talking and suddenly he says, so all of you know, so we have to chant Hare Krishna, and Krishna is the supreme Lord, and Prabhupada pauses. Krishna, you know Krishna. Now in India, we take for granted, everybody has heard, even non-Hindus know about Krishna. Krishna, you know Krishna? And there is pin drop silence. For them Krishna is a word, it doesn't mean anything. So Prabhupada says, Krishna, you don't know Krishna? You seen painting of Krishna? Krishna, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita? Silence. And then you can see Srila Prabhupada's voice. Oh, you can feel that disappointment. Like nobody has heard of Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada has come here to give them Krishna. Wow, it's worth meditating upon. So the amazing pastime. So at the same time, Srila Prabhupada was very, very human. Like one of the boys from Paradox Restaurant, he was working close by in a Paradox Restaurant. His name was, I'm not able to get his name. From that restaurant, you would get food. They were not cooking vegetarian there. You would every day in the lunchtime, you would get a box of hot food, meat or whatever, and you would get it you would walk these 2 floors up to 2C where Prabhupada stayed in the apartment behind. You knock on the door and you would give Prabhupada as a token of love. Because he is working in that restaurant, he wanted to give Prabhupada something. So he would give that food, and he says Prabhupada was so gracious. He always took it. But of course he never saw Prabhupada eat it. But he always accepted that gift because he gave it. Now Satsvarup Maharaj says, I would have left ISKCON as a young boy because I was reading all these different kind of philosophers. And Srila Prabhupada would be very strong and philosophical presentations. One day I asked him, Swamiji, I am reading all of this, so are all of them bogus? Are all of them, none of them is None of them are God conscious? Are they not God conscious at all? And Srila Prabhupada's one sentence saved him. Srila Prabhupada said, they are all sincere. And their sincerity is their God consciousness. And when Sasuru Maharaj heard that, he said, wow, the Swamiji is mature, is able to embrace everyone, is able to accommodate everyone. Philosophically, he may present strong points because you're sitting on the asana, you're sitting, but then that doesn't mean he's holding personal grudges against anyone. A sort of compassion. And one last pastime I'll end with. If you ever hear Prabhupada say strongly anything, I would like you to remember this pastime of Prabhupada, and with this I'll end today's class. It's June 23, 1976, New Vrindavan, they are having a conversation. All the devotees are acting as atheistic scientists, and Srila Prabhupada is defending Krishna consciousness. And they are debating. And for every question they ask, Srila Prabhupada says, what do you know, you rascal? Can you create life, you rascal? So he keeps chastising them as rascals. So one of the devotees in that heated argument, because he's a scientist, right? He's supposed to challenge Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is supposed to challenge him. He says, but Swamiji, why do you call us rascal? That was a good argument. And immediately, this is not a rehearsed speech. This was a live debate. Immediately, it's during those times you are tested. What is in your heart comes out. When Srila Prabhupada was challenged, why do you call us rascal? Immediately Srila Prabhupada said, because I love you. And because I love you, I can't see you get degraded into animal life again. I want you to practice Krishna consciousness and perfect your life and go back home, back to Godhead. You understand, you rascal? Again, Srila Prabhupada called him a rascal. So, Srila Prabhupada is an embodiment of compassion, and he not only installed deities all over the world, he's actually installed holy dhams, holy places. He's installed New Mayapur, New Vrindavan. He's carried the holy places actually from Vrindavan. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel, ordinary people like us who are so fallen, we can't feel so much spiritually enlivened coming to, going to so many places outside India. We feel more Krishna conscious in Prabhupada's temples than in commercialized many places in India which are so-called spiritual. So thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada. I just hope and pray that I can serve all of you, and I need your blessings that I can serve Srila Prabhupada's mission sincerely without any ulterior motive. Please pray for me. Please bless me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for that wonderful talk, taking us through the very beginning days of 2nd Avenue, through the 70s up until the end in Vrindavan. Really beautiful. You've inspired me. When I get home tonight, I'm going to look my wife in the eyes and I'm going to say, you rascal. So we're going to have a brief kirtan, 5 minutes.